Before I do a little bit of reintroduction time, I want to show a photograph on the screen of Elliott Gould alongside King Vidor.
Oh, yeah.
May we ask the circumstance and what that man meant in your young life? And
well, I never knew how to play claviage, and he always told me it was the best two-handed game. He made some great movies in his day.
Including The Big Parade.
That's right.
Famous ones, wow. And Our Daily Bread. A little bit of reintroduction time. My anchor lady is Charlotte Chandler, whose many, many books include Hello, I Must Be Going.
And I took that picture
Where?
of Elliott with King in California.
Right.
And King was a big fan of Elliott's. He wanted to use him in a film. He was still hoping to make another film. And he thought he could do something that was like The Crowd, and that it would be a new version of it, not exactly the same, but that Elliott was the perfect everyman for his crowd when he redid it.
Want to do some directing someday, Elliott? Have you thought about...
Oh, yeah, I very much intend to direct.
Because King Vidor was the first man, when a lady was reading a letter on the screen, let's say a love letter, he was the first one to have the man's voice read the words on the screen, on the soundtrack from that letter. He was quite an innovator. Alongside Charlotte Chandler is Mr. Gianni Russo. Mr. Russo has starred or co-starred in about 23 important movies, including the supporting role in The Godfather. Do you generally play those kind of people, tough people, more or less, Gianni?
Unfortunately, yeah. That's all I've been doing.
Pays the rent.
They haven't let me kiss the girl yet.
Before I ask Elliott to put you through the paces, because I want to rest my voice today, I see you're appearing at Trump Castle. I was wondering what kind of an act a man does at a nightclub stage, who's, I guess, primarily an actor.
Well, I started singing a year ago at the Golden Nugget in Las Vegas with Don Rickles, and now Donald Trump has given me the opportunity to headline my own act, and I open, as you say, on the 9th. And the show is basically based on motion picture themes and groomed to my life, and it's 1 hour of full music.
But after you played a tough guy in, let's say, 23 movies, Gianni, did Hollywood kind of resist giving you more subtle, dramatic challenges? Is that why you...
They not only resisted, they didn't.
They didn't. Elliott, what's the feeling on somebody who's, what's the word, not typecast, but he's known for playing a tough guy? And that's,
Well, he's such an attractive guy, and I had the pleasure of meeting his wife, Shannon, before we came on the air, and I didn't know Gianni sang. I'm interested in seeing your show. I think you should do some comedy. No, I'm going to your Roots to make a new picture.
Yeah, I heard.
So your 1990 plans include mostly doing concerts and so forth?
No, really, I have, well, I have a lot of episodic television coming out. The 7th, I'm on Jake and the Fat Man, which would be over here. Then I just did the guest lead on the Father Dowling Mysteries. I have a new feature coming out from TriStar March 23rd called Side Out. And I just was reassociated with Marlon Brando after 20 years from The Godfather in the film called The Freshman.
So working alongside him, past and present, must be a pretty exciting acting experience, right?
It was. So
no, I mean him working alongside you. I'm sorry, but continue.
No, you're right. No, just to do the films, basically, and now to do nightclub, it keeps you pretty busy. So I'm looking forward to the 90s doing all of it, really, acting and singing.
Could you write an article, Charlotte, called America's Tough Guy Now Starts Singing Love Songs? Good twist?
Might be able to. What do you like doing best of all of that?
I like it all, really. I like the challenge of the live audience, and obviously film is my first. But to do this now, and I've been doing it just about a year, but now to take on this engagement as the headline and taking the weight of it all, it's a nice challenge.
It's very different having a live audience. That's
but it's a nice experience too, though. It's you have to be there and deliver. It's more like stage too.
Let me deliver alongside Mr. Russo, the internationally renowned singing star. I mean, this lady has sold in the millions and millions, Elliott. Miss Marilyn Maye. Didn't you have the record, Marilyn, of Cabaret even before Liza Minnelli's movie version of Cabaret?
Before the Broadway show opened.
Right.
That was a hit for me. I'm grateful to it, and my life is just that.
What have been the principal excitements in your life lately, Miss May? Let's say personally and professionally.
Well,
People like to...
right.
We haven't chatted in such a long time.
Right at this moment, I'm at Michael's Pub in New York City, and that's pretty exciting for me. Nice to get back to New York and the wonderful listening audiences of New York. The cabarets are not as plentiful now, Joe, so we're doing lots of concerts, which is lovely because they're really there to hear you. There's no food, no drink, They're sitting in that theater listening to a 2-hour concert, and it's lovely. And of course, the live audience is very important to me. I love the feeling of the give and take with people. I sing to them. There are 2 techniques I always say, to an audience and for an audience. I'm a to an audience performer, and I love that give and take.
Would you say, Mr. Gould, a lady with that kind of stage presence probably has done a lot of musical comedy or stage work besides doing...
I've never heard the expression to an audience. That's really interesting. I understand with an audience and for an audience. To an audience sounds more oratorical, but I'm fascinated. I want to look at that dimension.
Well, the lyric is important to me, and in any song, it's very important. And I think every song is a little vignette, and you're telling a story, and orating on that particular, at that particular moment, on that particular subject. And I like you can get a feeling with people and get the intimacy. The place where we are now at Michael's Pub is very intimate, and they are there to hear. So it's great.
I saw Mel Torme there recently.
Yes,
yeah, it's a wonderful place to see a show.
It's wonderful, wonderful sound, and the audiences are there, I think, basically for that.
Marilyn, I remember that you were either here one time with Steve Allen, or Steve Allen spoke about you, but your big break was when you were discovered by Steve Allen?
Yes.
How many times were you on his TV show?
Oh, a lot, an awful lot, bless his heart. I'm very grateful. He's the reason for me in this world, in this entertainment world.
Where did he discover you? What was the one moment, one place where he discovered you?
He heard of a demonstration record. A songwriter had written a group of songs, and the songwriter hired me to do the demonstration record. I was sitting in Kansas City in the Middle West, which is still my home area. And he heard the record and said, I want that singer, and just made a call, and I was in the book. And they said, there's Steve Allen is calling you. And I said, I don't think I know him. No, they said, the Steve Allen is calling you. And I went out and did that show, and I was working a little club in Kansas City, continued to work it for a very long time, and I would go out and do the show across from Ranch Market. Remember that show,
Sure.
Joe? And we did the show many, many times. On the last show, before Steve went off the air on that show, the last show that I did, RCA found me and saw me. A wonderful man by the name of Joe Renee saw me with RCA, and all of a sudden I was recording major albums with wonderful who's who musicians in Webster Hall here in New York City.
One time I was watching a Johnny Carson show when he listed the people who've been on his show the most times, and you were right near the top.
We've done it more, I think, as many times or more than any girl singer. We've done it 76
in the history.
times.
76 times?
Wow. Which is fun. He's been very good to me, and Doc Severinsen. I just did a symphony concert with Doc. He's Pop's conductor now with the Phoenix Symphony. And we just did a concert last June with that wonderful orchestra.
Rave reviews here for Marilyn Maye, but I'm reading one review for Gianni Russo, the critics right here, that you're singing, Mr. Russo. Your voice thrives on love ballads and quivers with sex appeal. Could I call you the English-speaking answer to Julio Iglesias? Maybe is that...
I'd like you to.
Can't knock it.
I'd like his success.
Wow.
But what she's saying is,
Yes.
it's ironic that you would say that, because that's basically what I'm doing, is singing to an audience.
Yes.
And so many people that just are singers. I think being an actor, it helps, because it's interpretation of a lyric through music, and to identify to the person in the audience, even though they're in the hundreds, but to try to pick out someone and focus that lyric to that person, or those persons that were there. It really sells a lyric, more so than just looking out into a spotlight. It's been well received.
Let me ask my panel one by one, if they were to offer advice. Then, Elliott, you got to give us a poem. You got to have everybody's they're sort of waving at me for a poem. If you, starting with Elliott Gould, were to give advice to aspiring actors, would it be encouraging or would it be depressing?
Well, what's the purpose of acting in terms of communication? And I think it's a great medium through which to communicate and learn more about yourself. So I think it's encouraging if your motive is correct.
Would you, Miss May, encourage aspiring singers, you who have never stopped? You didn't disappear for a while. You've always been singing, right?
Always, always.
Yeah.
That's what I know how to do the
Right,
most.
the best. So I mean, if somebody wants to be following your voice steps,
I think
would you?
so. I think they have to be willing to really give their entire life to it. I think it's not something you do a few hours a night. They always say you don't just get up and sing for an hour and then go away and do something else. It's really your life, and it's very rewarding. I certainly think God has, if God has given you a talent, I think you can hone it. But I think the first, God has to give you that instrument, and if he's given that to you, then you have to use it.
Mr. Russo?
You have no other choice.
Would you be optimistic or gloomy about somebody following in your footsteps?
Well, I think like everyone's saying, basically, you have to be dedicated and know that's truly what you want, because there are a lot of sacrifices in it. Most of the time you're not working, so it's a time where you really should be dedicated and honing your craft, as you say.
Now, how many people out there want to write a best-selling book the way Charlotte Chandler is normally selling it? Can we be bold enough, Elliott, to ask Charlotte if she would? You think we can ask her that question? How she would handle?
Yes, I think so.
How would you handle advising somebody who wants to do a best-selling book? I once read that out of thousands and thousands of people who write books, I mean hundreds of thousands, only 200 make their living solely from writing books. The rest have to drive a cab or work at the post office or work at the laundry. Isn't that a sad fact?
I think it's true.
Right, so Charlotte?
We're all so lucky because we're all people who get to do what we love to do,
Right.
and what we would do without getting paid to do it. And so I think that you have to be prepared to love what you do a lot and to keep trying. If you keep trying, it helps a lot. You go on with what you're doing. I remember Laurence Olivier told me that for acting, he would tell his children that they shouldn't do it. And he said the reason was because they should want to do it so badly that they would do it in spite of his saying they shouldn't do it. And so if you're going to do something that everybody in the world wishes to do, you have to be good and you have to be lucky, and I think you have to be persistent.
Persistent. Elliott is on the way to travel, but we're gonna hold back the plane. Do you enjoy when you travel? You enjoy working in Europe, Marilyn Maye? You enjoy
I
seeing?
love London.
London?
Oh, the singers talk to you and dissect, and they wait to figure out why you changed keys at that particular time.
You enjoy being called a jazz singer? I noticed in the London press they called you a jazz singer.
Well, I think they love jazz the most there.
That's a good word, right?
That's the American style of music to the Europeans.
Mr. Russo, tell me you want to hear a poem from our friend over here.
I've been waiting. I mean, I saw him in the
think I
Polo
still
Lounge
remember.
2 weeks
He did
ago.
it- he did it
I
la-
followed him here.
Right, he did it last time. We got about 400 people who asked, could we show that show again? But at this time, get your VCR ready and tape it right off the air. This is...
Okay, this is Run It Out by Edmund Vance Cook. When you once have hit the ball, run it out. Though your chance seem great or small, run it out. Many a fumble comes, you know. Many a baseman muffs a throw, but you're lost unless you go. Run it out. Comes the best or comes the worst? Run it out. You are gone, all right, but first, run it out. Would have done or might have been, never have a chance to win. Lively now and dig right in, run it out. In the game or out, the rule, run it out. Is the motto of your school, run it out? Here is one who thinks it wise just to play for exercise, but he'll score more if he tries. Run it out. You may fail, of course, but still run it out. If you don't, you know you will. Run it out. How alike is the beginning of the losing or the winning, just an eyelash to an inning. Run it out. Courage now, and keep your heart. Run it out. Nothing comes without a start. Run it out. Other Shakespeares might be printing, other Titians might be tinting. If some constant coach kept hinting, run it out.
Is that fantastic? You know what I'm saying, Charlotte? TV can get more kinky and more shocking, but something philosophical and inspirational still holds the people, right?
Well, I think the only hope for peace on Earth is through the immediacy of the transmission of news as it's happening all over the globe. Otherwise, it's hopeless.
You're right. You're right. Elliott, I want you to meet a couple of my friends from Australia. Will
Oh,
you do it for me?
great.
Ladies and gentlemen, first, Mr. Russo, invitation time for you. I want to be in the show. I want to be in the audience. It's happening where now? You're...
Trump Castle, 9th, 10th, and 11th. And wish you'll all be there.
And you're going to...
Too bad you're not going to be in town, Elliott.
he'll be there in spirit.
I'll say hello to the Pope for you.
Right,
Okay.
right.
No, he's going to be here.
You gonna do a scene?
I heard he likes to play.
You gonna do a scene from The Godfather? In the,
Well, I do some monologue in The Godfather, obviously. I use the theme from The Godfather
Really?
as a hunk of the show.
Right.
Took about